What's up, dreamers? Welcome to episode number 8 of the Hollywood Dreams podcast. On this episode, I talked with my friend and drummer extraordinaire Todd Lane from the band New Haven. Todd tells me all about New Haven's new album that after 30 years in the making, it finally came out on FNA Records. We also go over the band's history, his musical influences, and some great stories from the Hollywood days. So, once you heard the episode, go to FNARecords.com to check that out. Alright, let's give the foreplay and get right into it. Rock on! Hey, Todd. How are you?
I'm good, Santee. How are you?
Doing great, man. Thanks for being on the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure having you here, man. So, you got a new album coming up.
Yes, we do. New Haven. It's coming out on FNA Records, and it actually comes out on Monday.
This
depending
Monday.
on when this Monday, which is May 23rd. Yep.
Okay, so by the time this episode comes out, it will probably be maybe a week or two after it releases.
Okay, perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. So the record's been released, and check it out. I mean, it's amazing. It's got 13 songs on it. They've all been remastered from the originals. I did the remastering in Burbank, California, with Mark Van Zysen at his studio called Sausage Factory. Clever name, and but it sounds great compared to the stuff that I've heard on like people putting up on like YouTube and stuff like that. I mean, it blows it away. I mean, it's just it's incredible. So, and we did a 24-page booklet with the CD, which is pretty big. But remember, this was 30 years in the making for us to release the New Haven stuff. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. So these are the old songs but remastered, right?
Yes. It's the songs from we did a demo. The singer and I, Kirk Samler, did a demo to put the band together in 1986, like late 1986. And the guitar player who plays on it was in a previous band, which I know we'll get to. And then Mark Van Zysen, again, the guy that remastered it, he played keyboards on the record. Yeah, because Kirk and I both knew we wanted keyboards when we started building New Haven. So, yeah, and then after that, we did 2 demos for Atlantic Records, 89 and 90, I believe. And there were 3 songs on each, so that's 6. And then there's 4 on the 86 demo that I just mentioned. And then out of the blue, we got our hands on 3 live songs that were recorded at the Whiskey A Go-Go on Sunset Strip in 1988. And it sounds great. And it definitely brought me back, hearing the live stuff in the show, because I don't want to give too much away, but just, I mean, the way we sequence the record, people will get it, they'll see, but it sounds great.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people have been waiting for this for a long time now.
Yes. Sorry it took so long. Blame me. My fault, everybody. My fault. But I got it done, and we're really happy with it. And I can't wait for you to hear it,
I can't wait either. I mean, it's better late than never.
Exactly. Thank you. You're one of the good ones. You're one of the good. Everybody's like, what took so long? Anyways, but yeah, we're psyched, man. We're ready to go, and I can't wait for you and your folks to hear it, man. Because I've seen people on YouTube from Argentina and all over the place. Like, hey, when can we get our hands on the song and all this? This is years and years ago.
Yeah.
But now's the right time. It just everything fell into place. So very happy, very, very happy with this.
I'm glad, man. So before we dive into the whole new, so of course I want to ask you a lot more things about New Haven, but before we dive into that, let's go way back.
Okay.
Tell me what made you want to be a musician?
Well, I kind of grew up around music because my father uh, worked and ran a couple of radio stations in Cleveland, Ohio, and one was like R&B, like funk, um, urban type music, and the other was like, and that was AM, and then there was an FM that was like a rock station.
Yeah.
Eventually, it turned into like a rock station. So luckily, he would bring home like records every week. When I was a kid and growing up, and before I found music, I was into baseball and sports and all that stuff. But when I must have been, I don't know, I'd have to think about it. But I just remember when he brought home the Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2 records. So that had to be jointly around, let's just say for argument's sake, 1977. So when I saw those records, I was like, wow. And I put them on and I, started looking at the pictures and I saw Peter Criss and I heard him and I just saw his drum kit. He was playing Pearl drums and he had a chrome set that was,
Yeah.
gigantic. And I was like, this is so cool. And I remember I had an older brother and he had a drum set. So I remember getting it out and cleaning it up and,
Right.
just, putting on the records and playing, I played both concerts back to back in my basement. So that was a lot of fun. So it was basically Kiss and just all the music swirling around, because I liked the stuff that he brought home, like Parliament, Funkadelic, all kinds of like,
All right.
that kind of funk stuff. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I was well rounded when it came to like influence of music. And my dad, he was into big band because he came from that generation,
Right.
that like fought in World War II and all that, and
Yeah.
he was like into big band, like your listeners probably won't know this, but like Tommy Dorsey, Jimmy Dorsey, Glenn Miller, and I loved all those those big band drummers like Buddy Rich, Gene Krupa, those type of guys. Yep.
So which one is your favorite Kiss record?
Ooh, it's probably going to be it's a toss up between Alive and Alive 2. I can't, I like them both for various things. I mean, and I got them both at the same time, because 75, I was really young, but, so 77, I would say both equally. I would say both equally.
All right. Yeah. I mean, they are both amazing albums, of course.
Yeah. I mean, just, but just, the sound and, everything it just blew me away, but Alive too, just with the, just like with the graphics and the artwork, that really stood out. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and just they had more. They were just such a great band. And just the promoting and the marketing that their management and their advertising company did, and the record label that they were on, Casablanca. Neil Bogart, the guy that ran out later, he was just a gambler, a gunslinger. He wasn't afraid to put his butt on the line for his bands. And he stuck with them, and it paid off, as we all know. So, yep.
So did you get a chance to see them live during that era?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I saw them. Yes, I saw them on the Alive 2 tour in 1977
Oh wow.
when they came to the Richfield Coliseum. And of course, my dad was like sick of me bugging him about it, and he got me tickets. And I was just blown away. And a Cheap Trick opened up for them.
Oh
So
wow.
this was 77. So it had to be.
The Dream Police tour.
It could have been like In Color, and
Oh,
the record In Color,
okay.
where they opened up with "Hello, Ladies and Gentlemen." Yep, and Robin Zander throwing up Kiss records. It was really cool. I
Yeah.
didn't have great seats at the time, but it got better as time wore on because it was like last minute. I'm just a kid, and my dad's like, I don't know if I want you to go to concerts. People are smoking dope, and so I was like, Dad, I'm going there to see Kiss. I just want to see the band. And obviously I was adult supervised, so there were no
Right.
problems.
This painting
That's
up
great.
punk.
That's a great question. Yep.
All right. So how did Haven came to be?
Okay. So, you know, eventually, you meet kids in school, you know what I mean? So I believe finally, in 1979, my dad bought me my first kit, and different from the one that I found in our basement that my older brother played. Anyways, so I just started practicing, listening to records, and somebody would have like a house, some girl would have a party at her house, and I think I started jamming with, I knew kids that we were growing up with. There were two brothers. One of them played guitar, one of them played drums, and we'd play like, somebody's backyard, but it would just be like me and a guy on guitar, you know what I mean? Because bass players were hard to find back then,
right.
So it evolved. And then once I got into I think it was like 8th grade, I knew guys that were older than me that had a band, and I don't know what happened to their drummer. And there were other bands in town, where I grew up, but nothing, they would just play, again, backyard parties and whatnot. I just stumbled upon this one band, and they had a bass player, and they were good. There was a couple of good bands, that were in bands before I was. So, anyways, I sat down with, I believe, it was the guitar player from one of the bands, the singer from one of those bands. I was like, hey, do you want to try something different? Because they had been playing around for a little while, I guess. Anyway, so just through meeting guys in school, we jam. And by that time, my dad had soundproofed our basement. So when they came over, they're like, wow, this is so cool. I was like, yeah, we can practice here and all that. So that's how I met the first inception of Haven. This was 1981 now.
Okay.
We went through some changes, with people and musical direction. Basically, we started doing covers, top 40 covers. And we started getting bigger and bigger and bigger in our local area and getting, expanding and stuff like that. So I think we were playing at we had an ice rink, right? So we're playing on the ice, and, all the bleachers on both sides are just packed, because, when you're, junior high school, there's nothing to do on Friday and Saturday night. So the kids would come, and we would play, a couple, 2-3 sets of just everything, just everything. And at that show, there was people that we went to school with. This friend I knew, her, she said, my mom is a lawyer and a manager. She, can I bring her to the show? I'm like, yeah. And so after we were done playing, I remember her, and she had a partner at the time, and they said, look, we would like to manage you guys, but we want to talk to you because we see potential in you to write your own songs. Do you guys write your own songs? We're like, yeah. And back then they were Willie Poppy and stuff like that. So I figure, so that's 82, and then the me personally, I was starting to get into heavier stuff. I still love Kiss, but I was getting into I love Van Halen from back in '77 and
right.
Those rock bands. And of course I like Led Zeppelin and The Who and the Eagles, and I went to tons of concerts when I was a kid, and the seats got better, because I'd bug the hell out of my dad. Dad, can you get tickets? Yes. And then he just got sick of me bugging him. So he would tell me to call the local, call the guy at CBS yourself, call the guy at Polygram yourself, call the guy at Capitol Records yourself. He just got, tired of me bugging the crap out of him every day. So, and I got to be friends with a lot of these guys, just me, and they love my dad. And, so, just went to a ton of concerts. So anyways, this management company put us into the studio to record our own stuff, and it was good. They sent it out. We started getting bigger, getting on local music stuff and all that. And, as we progressed, we had to figure out who's, cause we still had a couple of members in the band, but we essentially they said, okay, this is what we're thinking. It's 1983, and again, me personally, I'm getting into the British invasion of Judas Priest and Def Leppard and and
Right.
just some obscure band too. You know, I would go to the import section at our record store, and you know, just Saxon, Iron Maiden, all that stuff. But that was just me personally. You know, I just was like, this is really cool. So they just said, let's fine tune this thing. We've got interest from Atlantic Records in LA, and the guy that was there said, look, if you move the band out here, like, and it wasn't 1984 yet. I'm taking a personal interest in these guys. So we wrote more songs, to their thing. Cause that's when like the heavy metal, that's when like Quiet Riot was booming and Def Leppard was booming, and they opened the door, Quiet Riot opened the door for everything,
Right.
in that genre, like in '83. And I saw those guys open up for Loverboy, at like our, amphitheater thing. There's a music center out here called Blossom Music Center. And, I was just like, wow, these guys are cool, but I thought Loverboy was cool. I thought the drummer was great. They had great records that were produced by Bruce Fairbairn. I mean, it was just, I went and saw everything I could. So anyways,
They say that by '83, something like heavy metal was not cool music, and
no.
it
And
was
then I
Quiet
don't know if you
Riot
remember,
first, right?
right. And then they had the US Festival in '83 out in San Bernardino, and they had Heavy Metal Day, I don't know if you remember that. It was like Scorpions. It's on YouTube.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I could go. I mean, but I was like, yeah, there's no way. I mean, I'm pushing my luck with my dad anyway, hey Dad, I want to go see Def Leppard in Erie, Pennsylvania. What? He's like, you don't even have a driver's license. I was like, I have a friend that does. So shout out to my boy Dave, who drove to Erie, and we hung out with Def Leppard. Because I had met Rick Allen in 1981 on the High and Dry tour. I stood outside in the rain until they showed up, right before they were playing the show.
Oh, wow.
And and we were friends, and we wrote each other, pen pals. And when he came back for Pyromania, his brother was the tour manager of Def Leppard at the time. His name was Robert Allen. And, he, I became friends with him, and Rick just told his brother, he said, look, this kid Todd's cool. And I remember, going to the show, and Rick was like, hey, come backstage before the show. And I was like, you can go backstage before the show? I didn't know. I was just a punk kid. And he was like, yeah. So I brought my Pyromania record, and they all signed it. And, my dad's not around to scold me, but, I'm drinking beers, and, and I'm not of age at that point. But I did have my license then, so I did drive. And then I walk out, to find my seat. I had good seats, and I run into kids from my high school, and they're like, hey, what's that? And I was like, I was just, backstage, and the guy signed the record. They're like, let me see that. They're like, they were looking at it going, they didn't sign this. I go, and the couple of the other guys will go, yes, they did. Oh my God, how did you get, it was just sheer luck. And they're like, wait, is that a backstage pass? I go, yeah. How'd you get that? Anyway, so that's good stuff. So just getting back on track, but I got a zillion stories, maybe we'll have to do a part 2. But so Hayden, the guy at Atlantic said, move them out, and we'll, LA is where they need to be, because you don't want to be in New York. Anyways, so we moved out. I was going into my senior year of high school in '84, and we flew out. I remember it was a night, and it was really cold, and our management arranged like people to drive us to. We were going to shoot a video immediately at this college called Cal Arts out in Valencia, California, and shoot a video for MTV and whatnot, and just to have it, you know what I mean? I mean, the timing was right. So, I mean, the video's up on YouTube. It's called Turn It Up, and it's really cool. I mean, even for that time, I mean, it's shot so well. Mm-hmm. But that was like the beginnings, and then once we finished that, we moved into Hollywood, and we stayed at a hotel on Santa Monica Boulevard in like La Cienega. It was called the Tropicana. It's not there anymore. It's something else now. It could be like, I don't know, a Ramada Inn, maybe not. And this is where the story gets interesting. So we're there at this hotel, and it's, you know, it's weekly or monthly rate. So we're like, this is cool. You know, it's like, it's got 2 bedrooms, it's got a kitchen, and, you know, it's all the guys and like our managers. And our gear, our gear, I think we put it in storage because, you know, we shipped everything out. Anyway, so, you know, during the day, we're, looking for like rehearsal spaces and stuff and, get cracking. And, we were down the street from the Troubadour. So we would walk from our hotel and go watch bands at the Troubadour. So one day we're coming back and I'm by the pool and I see these guys, like in leather jackets and, big poofy hair and makeup on. And I'm like, whoa, because we weren't like that. We didn't wear makeup. We were a little bit heavier than that, a little more rocky. And they're like, hey, where are you guys from? We're like, we're from Cleveland. They're like, oh, wow, we've been out a little while. We're from, Pennsylvania or, Pittsburgh or whatever. And it was Poison. And they're like, hey, we're throwing a party here tonight. You guys are more than welcome to go. So they would throw parties after their shows. And I swear to God, we've only been there a month, if that. And I met them all. It was all your guys. It was even the original guitar player, the guy that was in before CC, Matt Smith, Matt Coco Smith. Yep. So they're like, what? Hey, there's like an apartment for rent right next to our building on Orange Drive in Hollywood by the Man's Chinese Theater, like literally right around the corner. So we looked into it and we took it and we became, friends, fast friends. And, we cook each other spaghetti and, hang out, drink beers, I wasn't of age then. I couldn't get into a club. So I had to have work on a little trickery to get some ID made and slink into some of those awesome clubs on Sunset Strip. So yeah, those guys were cool. And then let's see, I'm not sure. I just don't, I think we were just getting everything organized. And Poison said, hey, when you guys are ready, to do a show with us. And those guys were selling out shows back then in like 84, and they were huge. They were getting huger. And they were good. And nice guys. And to this day, you know what I mean? I still converse. I had a lot of fun with those guys climbing the ranks and watching their success for sure. So we had to we flew home for the holidays. So September, October, November, we got a break and our managers let us go. Cause some of the guys were homesick. We'd only been there 4 months and I was like, homesick? We've only been there for 4 months. What the hell? And I said, I want to go back to Cleveland. It's snowing there. We're in California. This is great. Anyways, so we had to make a change. And so we came back to LA, after the first of the year. This is 1985. We had to get a new bass player and we found one. And this kid was from New York. And I think Poison was going through their same thing where their guitar player wanted to leave. So they were auditioning and we were kind of in the same boat, but those guys were miles ahead of us. But they just said, deal holds. Once you guys are ready, do a show with us. And it was great. I'll never forget it. Getting to open for Poison, at the Troubadour, the place was packed. We busted our butt, but we had our fans, but their fans liked us. And it was just wonderful times, Santee, wonderful times.
It sounds like it, man.
Oh yeah. So just to, keep it moving, Poison got a deal with Enigma and our management company, and we were playing offshoots too, even though we got spoiled to open up for Poison. We would play a Tuesday night at the Music Machine, Madam Wong's, wherever we could, the Waters Club, just to get our act together. And right. So in 86, there was an equivalent to MTV that was over in the UK called Music Box. And here's an interesting tidbit. Julie Brown, downtown Julie Brown, was one of the VJs on there. So in 86, we flew over, right, our manager and this MTV type thing, music box. They kind of like, took an interest in us, and they said, "Hey, your video's doing good." And there was a couple of people that were really in our corner over there. A wonderful woman named Lee Edmeades, and she was just awesome, and she just helped with everything, in concert with our manager. So I think I was over there like a week earlier to do like press and stuff like that, and we were set to open shows for like Heavy Pettin', and I know we played with Paul Di'Anno, the lead singer of Iron Maiden's band called Battle Zone, and like a few other bands. And we were getting ready to we were based in London, like in Piccadilly Circus. We had like a flat, where we worked out of. So if you were gonna go play Paris, you would just, because all that stuff's very close over in Europe, as you know. So we used the UK as our hub. Anyways, so we had to rehearse for a little bit, and we rehearsed at the singer Joe Cocker. He owned a rehearsal studio, and we rehearsed there. He might have been there one day. I don't know. I'd have to think I forget when he passed away, but he was really cool. I think he still owned it. Anyways, so we're playing, and now we're getting into January, February, March. So like March or April, I think it was April, America bombed Libya, and the State Department got a hold of the promoters because they were billing us as a band from the United States, on all the ads and whatnot, even though we were opening for other big bands, and they just said, it's not safe. And I just remember going to, because like back in the day, I used to run a lot. You know what I mean? I like a runner, like jogging or whatever you want to call it. So I'd wake up in the morning and jog to Buckingham Palace, and there's a big park there. And I just remember one day, after we had finished our stuff, playing wherever, and running, and there was a big protest, and people were burning American flags and stuff like that. What else is new? And it was kind of it was kind of frightening because I'd never seen anything like that. You're you're out of the country, and you're seeing people just bashing America. And it was just weird. Anyways, we had to leave. And I think I mentioned this to you. So on my way back from the UK to come home, because I wanted to spend some time with my dad, and the band had broke up. Where they essentially everybody bailed. So it was just me, and the manager said, "Look, spend time with your dad, figure out what you want to do." But on that plane ride, sitting next to a guy, it's a 747 Pan Am Airlines, and the guy had a book on his tray table, and he had a cocktail, and it said The Firm, Mean Business, Tour Dates, 1986. And this guy looked cool. I was like, "Hey, do you work for The Firm?" He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Wow, that is cool. What do you do?" He's like, "Well, my name is Rex King, and I'm Jimmy Page's, I worked with him in Zeppelin, so I'm working with him now." He was like his guy. He wasn't like his tech, but he was like his right. Personal, body guy. But, this guy knew where the bodies were buried. So I just said, this is going to be a long flight, convict. And so I just started buying him drinks, and, we and that's a long flight from, the UK to just to JFK, that's a long flight. So by the time we landed, man, we're both, a little wobbly, but he was like, "Listen, when we roll through Cleveland, you're in." And what a cool, that was just my luck sometimes, just being at the right place at the right time. Anyways, we're in, April, May, June. I think I took the summer off and just hung out with my dad and figured out what I wanted to do. And the manager's like, "Look, Todd, if you come back to LA and put together a band, I'll back you." So that's what I did. I flew back out to LA. Poison had moved on. I think they moved up into a house, so they weren't our neighbors anymore. And I think we moved a street over. And, I had to work. I was doing movie surveys. Anyways, I met this guy who worked there, long blonde hair. His name was Kirk. And he was in a band. He came out from North Carolina. And I don't know what they were doing, but I was like, look, well, I just got back, and I was in this band, and I have a manager, and I was like, let me hear your songs, and because we had songs too, and to his credit, the guitar player that was in Haven came back out too, but he didn't want to play music anymore. He wanted to get into recording and engineering and producing and
Yeah.
that type of stuff. His name was Daryl Swan. So we got organized, and we said, okay. Daryl was working at a studio, and he said, you guys can come in at midnight, and we can cut 4 songs. We'll do 2 of Kirk's, and we'll do 2 of our own ones. So that's what we did. And then, so that wraps up 86. So in 1987, I think I went home for a break, and I was friends with this guitar player here in Cleveland. His name is Danny Kane. And I called him and I said, hey, do you want to move out to LA? We're putting together a band, even though I was just in Haven, we're going to save time and just call it New Haven. He said, hell yeah. So I was like, there's only one hook. What's that? You got to find us a bass player. He's like, I know a guy. So he calls his buddy up, Ross Manzo, and he flies out to LA, and we start getting our act together. And Kirk had more songs, we had more songs, and we had found a keyboard player prior to Danny and Ross. Sorry, Mike, I screwed that part up, but the people will get it. Yeah, so me and Kirk found Mike, and then I called Danny, and Danny called Ross. So Mike had songs too. So he kind of completed the power trio at the time before Danny and Ross got to LA. So, and then let's see, I think we went back and talked to Gina B at the Troubadour, and she's like, oh, you got a new band? That sounds good. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we'll let you hear the demo once we're finished. She's like, I love it. I'll start you guys out on a Thursday night. And we said, fine, this is the way it is. So, we rehearsed, learned the songs, got to gel as a band. And, we're playing those off the Sunset Strip clubs, way the hell out and God knows where.
Right.
And, we played the Thursday night. I think we drew over 100 people. And then she's like, well, let's just see if this is a fluke. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a Sunday night. I was like, what? Come on. She's like, no, I want, this is, I want to see. I mean, because this is really good. Because we get bands that come in here, they draw good one night, and then that's it. So I want to see, can you get these people back on a Sunday before they got to go back to work, for a long, and we did. And she's like, okay, so we'll start putting you guys in on weekends. So, and we would just flyer the heck out of everywhere, man. We were everywhere on the Strip, flyering, parking lots of the Forum, the Pacific Amphitheater, Irvine Meadows, everywhere. We'd go to the beach and flyer, you know what I mean? And that was fun.
So the flyer wars a reality?
Say it again, sorry.
Were the so-called flyer wars a reality?
Yeah. Flyer wars, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there were tons of bands passing out flyers, on Fridays and Saturday nights, but we would go out every night. It didn't have to be a Friday or Saturday, and, sometimes other bands were rude, we weren't, and sometimes, girls are, they'd be rude, and people just throw the flyer down, if it wasn't dirty, I'd pick it back up because I'll find somebody that wants it, Right. It's just how I was, but yeah. And then we started doing, there were streets, like Highland Avenue, where the Hollywood Bowl's located when you're coming into Hollywood. There's Laurel Canyon, which is one of the canyons that get you from the valley into Hollywood. There's Coldwater Canyon, same deal. There's Highland Avenue, again, like I said. And there's La Brea, and then there's Sunset and Hollywood. So we would take buckets of glue and flyers and just with a brush and just put them up on the poles, all the time. And if a band would come, after us and cover us up, we'd go back out later and we'd cover them up. So, yep. Yes, flyer wars. I remember it well.
Did you guys have a favorite club to play?
Well, the first club that we really hit was the Troubadour. So they were immediately a favorite. Um,
Okay.
uh, it was, that was like, it felt like home to us. So this is from like 87 to like 88. And I think we started getting into like the whiskey. We moved, the whiskey and the Roxy and Gazzari's. They were all up on Sunset. The Troubadour's on Santa Monica. So we started playing there, and we liked that. The promoters, they were like, "Come on, when are you guys going to play here?" And I just, and the people that own the clubs were like, "You better play here, or else." So, all right, that's all I'll say about that. So I was like, "All right, well, we got to do this." So it was fun. It gave, it changed everything, and it was a whole different dynamic. But we were walking up and down that, Sunset, the Strip, prior to even playing those clubs, and people would be like, "What? We love the Troubadour, but when are you guys going to play up here?" It's like, all right. So, but yeah, I mean, all of them have their pluses for sure. You know what I mean? I mean, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the Troubadour gave us our start. You know what I mean? So I'll just have to, because I think we did. I don't know if because we had a relationship with Gina prior, when we were in Haven. So
Yeah.
it was just, the smart thing to do, because we knew that she knew us. And I think we talked about the whiskey and the Roxy, but it just, at the time, it was just, I don't know. We were just comfortable with the Troubadour. So, I mean, we love all the clubs, but Troubadour gave us a start. I'm not saying that they're a favorite, but, they're all good in their own right. And then there was the Country Club, which was huge out in like Reseda, and like Warrant was getting really, really big. And they would have shows out there, and I had
Yeah.
met those guys too, like way back when. Janie and Steve came out in a band called Plain Jane from Florida, and they had a bass player with them. There was three guys. It was Janie, Steve, and this guy named Al Collins. May he rest in peace. I'd met those guys before they got in Warrant. And anyways, so that was that. I mean, the Country Club was great, but it was just so big that they could draw. You know what I mean? Warrant, and Poison played that place all the time. They were huge. And they'd get national acts, too, at Chuck Landis's Country Club.
So
So,
they always say that there was like a difference between the bands that played clubs like the Roxy or the Gazaris and bands like play other clubs like the Cat House maybe. Do you think
yes,
that's true? Yeah.
I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, because the bands that played the Cat House were a little more on the dirty, goth side of things. Like, even though Faster Pussycat was coming up, they played, the whiskey and, the Roxy.
Yeah.
They probably played Gazzari's too, but yeah, you're right. It was different. Like the Cat House vibe was different from the Sunset Strip vibe for sure, if that's what your question is.
Yeah, more like I don't know, LA Guns, that style, that's sleazier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because LA Guns, they were around when I first got out there. Tracy Guns has been out there forever. So, and LA Guns has been around, again, since I got out there in '84. And it was,
Right.
they were different, they were different. And, obviously he's a great guitar player. But yeah, there was a band called London that was
Yeah.
like Nikki Sixx was in and Rick Fox was in. Yeah. We opened for those guys. I just
Oh,
remember they had a riser that it was up to the ceiling, man. I was like, what the, how am I going to get my drums up there? The guy was cool. I forget the drummer's name, but he's like, yeah, you can use the riser. And I might have a picture of that I could send you, but it's like up to the ceiling, the Troubadour. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. And we played with a lot of good bands, man. Like Paradise, Adam Gifford, and I think you're going to be chatting with him
yeah,
soon.
he will be featured next episode, Paradise. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, tell him I said hello. Adam's a great guy, and his guys were cool too. And then there was the other Paradise with Paul Lancia was the singer. Billy DeVette was the guitar player. Dave Marshall, Daz Bash, and Nick Manzella on bass. Yep.
Yeah.
And like their manager and our manager were friends back in the day. And there's still so many bands, that were really cool. Like, that we had respect for, and they had respect for us. And, it was a good thing back in the day. From, in the time that I was there, even from 84 up until 91, it was great. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
There was like a camaraderie between the bands, right?
Absolutely, with a lot of bands. And, there was a handful of bands that there wasn't. You could tell, they just blew in from another city and had a lot of money. And, they were arrogant, and, we didn't care, we were like, look, we'll be cool to anybody, that's just the way I was raised, treat people with respect. And, Tough was great. Those guys were a lot of fun, man. We played with those guys for sure. Usually I'm not at a loss for words, but God, there's so many bands, there were so many good bands out there. And again, Tough was great. They were huge. They were playing big places, and those guys were out there working their butts off too. They worked very hard, and you'd always see them. Like it could be a rainy Tuesday night.
Right.
It'd be the hardcore guys that knew that, hey, we don't care if there's 2 people out here or 20. We're gonna walk up and down the street, and then we'll duck into a club, have a beer, and go back out and hit it. And we did that a lot. For years. Right. Yeah. Hoping that we'd get the chance. So let's see.
So talking about that, did you get? I hear you guys had some interest from FNA Records, right?
Yes, that's a little bit later on. What I did want to mention to you, okay. We'll get to that. So in like 88, summer of 88, therein we had to make some changes, and Danny and Ross left the band, and we got Tim Kelly, who would eventually go on to play in Slaughter, lead guitar, and then Robbie Crane, who went on to play in like Rat and Vince Neil. So it was Tim, Robbie, me, Kirk, and Mike, and that was a lot of fun. And Tim, we'd known Tim. Tim, he lived in the same complex as we did, and he was in a band that moved out from Pennsylvania, but it broke up, and he was a good friend, and he was an amazing guitar player. So he was like, yeah, I'll do it. And Robbie was a friend of mine, and he was in another band, but he left and joined us, and it was a lot of fun, playing with those guys. So this was 88. So once we get to 89, Tim joined Slaughter, and Robbie stuck around just about to 89, and then he left and joined another band. We replaced Tim with a guy who was a friend of mine and a great guitar player, Steve McMasters, and Glenn D'Amico on bass. So we had shows booked already. So we had to get back in, and these guys had to get up to speed. But I think, Steve was a friend, and he'd come out and see. So he kind of knew the stuff and knew, how we operated on stage. And Glenn was a pro too. So we start playing, we're still selling out. And, people are mad that, hey, why isn't so-and-so in the band? I was like, don't talk to me, talk to them. If you had an opportunity to join Slaughter, you'd do it too. And there was no bad blood between Robbie or Tim. To this day, I still talk to Robbie. I see him occasionally because he's subbing right now in Warrant for Jerry Dixon. So, I've seen him a few times, and he's part of the project too. He helped out. We'll get to that. But yeah, so I don't know how many shows it was. So this is like 89. So it was 89, like maybe summer of 89. Our manager comes back. It could have been at the Gazzari's or Whiskey or Roxy. I don't know if it was the Troubadour. I don't remember. So she's like, hey, Atlantic Records, because we'd invite them all the time. You know what I mean? We invite all the labels all the time, like every show. So, hey, we like you guys. We're keeping an eye on you. But one night, she comes back in the dressing room and says, are you guys decent? Yeah, we're decent. We're, just chilling, whatever. Good show. Because at that point, we knew what the hell we were doing. So she was like, hey, this is Sybil from Atlantic Records, and she really likes you guys, and she wants to talk to us. I was like, okay. And I looked at our manager, and she's like, she nods her head like, it's good, it's really good. It miles to me, it's good news. I was like, okay. She's like, yeah, I've seen you guys a couple times. I've talked to my bosses, and they've given me the green light to give you guys money to do some demos for us. So we were like, I just remember we were going crazy. You know, we were like, finally. So, we had to pick, we were like, okay, now we got to get serious, because we hadn't recorded anything since the early stuff in '87. Like, occasionally we'd go in here or there, but nothing really like a demo. You know what I mean? Because we're a live band. You know what I mean? Unless somebody, put up the dough, we were like, just come see a sold out show or two and you'll get the point.
Right.
So we were rehearsing at this little boutique, kind of like, not private, but just low key rehearsal studio in Hollywood. And the guy that ran it, his name was Dean Chamberlain, and he was in a band called The Motels. And he was in a band called Code Blue, and Randy Castillo was actually his drummer back in the day.
Oh, wow.
And if it wasn't for that guy Mark Danzeisen, who I met when I first got out here, and he did the keyboards on the first demo, like I would have never found, he's the one that hooked us up with Dean's studio. And the guys that were rehearsing there, it was like Jane's Addiction, Guns N' Roses. Those are the guys that had like Lockouts, and I forget the other bands. But those are the guys that caught my attention. You know what I mean? And that's how I met Steven Adler and like Perry Farrell and Steve Perkins. And I'd go there, while they were rehearsing, and I had a key, so I could just go in and work on my drums, do whatever the heck I had to do. And I just remember one time I was there, I saw Iggy Pop coming out of Dean's office. I guess he was working on some stuff with Iggy Pop, and Dean just knew all these people. He was a different kind of guy. I mean, he came from a different angle, but he loved our band, and we're like, Dean, we actually want you to do it. He was like, great, I'll bring in this engineer guy. His name's Joe Seda, and he worked with like, he did a Katie Lang record. He did like some stuff with Ricky Lee Jones, and the guy, just a combination of like us with these guys, because we're a rock and hair band, and these guys are serious cats, but they know their sound and their production. That's why I liked it, because I heard the stuff that they've done, and it just worked. And we first did the first demo in '89. It was Rocking Chair, Part of Me, and Draw the Line. And we got good enough feedback from Atlantic, where they said, okay, do another one. Let's do another one. Not that this is bad, but let's do another one. We said, fine. So same bunch of guys, Dean and Joe and us, the '89 lineup. This was now '90, and we got a little bit harder. So it was like Long Night Out and Who You Are and Love on the Rocks. So, but we're running out of time here. You know what I mean? Because we're in the '90s, approaching '91, and there's that little thing called grunge out there that's making a bunch of noise.
Yeah. So
we were still selling out shows. We had all the Atlantic people down. And finally, they said, okay, we're gonna, East Coast, West Coast. We're gonna sign one or two bands this year, or one at the time. But again, we're pushing late '90, '91-ish. And we got to the top on the West, and I don't even know the band's name on the East. Anyways, long story short, band in the East won. That was it. I mean, the Atlantic West Coast team did a great job, and I couldn't fault them. It's politics, a lot of politics going on at the time at the record company. So we played around for, and we're still selling out shows. And then it just got to be overwhelming. You know what I mean? Because you'd see people like flannels and all that stuff. And like, we weren't wearing like spandex or anything like that. But it just got to a point where, we could still do it and the fans want to see us. But, we didn't do like a farewell show or anything like that. We just quietly went our separate ways.
What's your take on what killed the Hollywood scene? Would you say it was just
grunge period.
Yeah.
Yep. music changes. We all know that. Look, all the stuff I rattled off, at the beginning of this podcast was, think about generations. There was like my dad's generation of music, the big band stuff, and then there were crooners like Sinatra and those guys, and then the 50s, like rock and roll came into play. The early rock and roll, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, all those guys. And then you get the 60s where it's like, hippie, and the California sound. And then the 70s were like arena rock, like the Eagles and Yes, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, that type of stuff. Aerosmith, playing like stadiums, Boston, that type of stuff. And then the 80s was, there was like late 70s, there was like punk rock was, all the, the bands were, playing punk rock, the Sex Pistols, the Clash. There was a big punk scene here in Cleveland at the time too, at that point. I'm just going through the like we just said, the musical changes. And then, and in the 80s, bands like Def Leppard put out On Through the Night in like 79. Okay. And I saw them at the stadium here in Cleveland, and it was like Def Leppard, opened the show. I think, no, that was the other one. That was, okay. Sorry, folks. I'll get this right. Oh, see, 1979, it was Journey, Ted Nugent, Thin Lizzy, AC/DC. Okay.
Yeah.
Did I say Aerosmith? Okay, because Aerosmith played too.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Right. And that was 79. That's a good lineup. Journey, Ted Nugent, Thin Lizzy, Aerosmith. That's that. And then 80, it was like Bob Seger headlined, Eddie Money played. Because I had all the T-shirts, man, and Def Leppard opened. So that was like right on the on Through the Night tour. And then when they came back in 81, that was the High and Dry tour. But I just remember getting the first Def Leppard record, and it hit it. It was that truck, dry, with the moon behind it, and it looked like a guitar, and their logo was so cool. I mean, and they were just a good band, and that Tom Allen, the guy that produced their first record, it was great because he did a lot of the Judas Priest stuff. He did British Steel, he produced British Steel. So that's how I would find these bands. I'd look on the back of the records when I was a kid, and I'd say, oh, that producer did that record. That's how I kind of like got into the, British invasion of metal. And of course, Ozzy Osbourne was great. The Blizzard of Oz record was great. And Diary of a Madman was great. And when they came out with High and Dry, I was just like, holy bleep, this is incredible, the sound. But, because they were like AC/DC, because Mutt Lange had just done, he had just done Back in Black,
Right.
And I saw that tour with Brian Johnson, because I saw him with Bon Scott in 79. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Now you're bringing back memories. Yep. Wow. That's pretty cool.
So you've pretty much seen everyone, I guess.
I have pretty much from that day. Yes, absolutely. It was, and it was a little bit different, like when I got out to LA, because, I wasn't back home, and it was, first of all, I didn't have a car, but we had transportation. But I was like, man, a band's playing at the Long Beach Arena. How the heck am I going to get there? Eventually, we made a network of friends, and people would give us rides and whatnot. But yeah, but it was just a different life. We were on our own. You know what I mean? We didn't have our parents back here in Ohio. Like, it was, but it was fun, man. It was fun. We had a lot of fun together. Each Haven and New Haven. You know what I mean? Just, a lot of fun. Met a lot of great people along the way.
Yeah.
Some were here, some weren't, but it was great. And just to just to show that, when you get kicked and, knocked down, you can get back up, because, I thought I was finished, but I believed in myself, and, I had people around me that believed in me personally, so I was like, and I just remember being on stage, it was probably one of our first, one of our sold-out shows, and I had family in town, and we were playing the Troubadour at this particular time, and there was a line going around the block, and we're up in the dressing room, and like my brother looks at me, he's like, Todd, did you see this? And I was like, what's that? He's like, look at all these people. He's like, are they here to see you? I'm like, yeah. I said, what do you think I've been doing? You know, what do you think I've been doing? And then I remember my dad came to a Roxy show with my uncle and my brother. And that was probably one of the greatest nights, you know, because they were all there and it was sold out, packed. And, you know, I was just, little tear coming out of my eye. And, you know, Kirk threw me the microphone. And I just, you know, because all these people had known us for years. And I just said, you guys, you know, thanks for everybody for coming. And I was like, I just want to let you know my father's here tonight. And people just went crazy. They were just, you know, they were just like cheering. And they put a spotlight on. And, you know, my dad's like waving at me. I'm like, hi, Dad. I did pretty good, didn't I? You know, and it was great. It was great, Santee. Probably one of the best nights of my life.
I can imagine, man. I mean, it's great that you got to have that moment with your father since he was backing you up since the beginning, right?
Right, and there's actually a picture on the CD. We did a collage page. It's like 2 full pages and plus some. And there's a picture of me and my dad on the New Haven CD. Yep. Wow. There's some really cool stuff in there. Yeah. Oh, I got pictures of like early Haven in there.
Yeah.
It was one of, and you'll be able to know what's what. You know, the people that get the CD are like, oh yeah, that's what he's talking about. But you'll just see my hair evolve. You know, you can track. You know, because I look like Scott Baio when I was a kid. You know what I mean? You know, hair parted down the middle, feathered or whatever. Yeah. And it just started growing, and then people started doing our hair that knew what they were doing. But you'll see the evolution, you know, from like 82 to 84 to 85 to 86, 7, 8, 9, 91. Yeah, you'll see it. And it's the hair just, we got lucky. We had people that knew what they were doing, you know, and it was great.
That's awesome.
Gosh.
So while I was doing some research for I was watching this YouTube video of one of your old demos, right? And there was a comment from a guy that said, I found it really funny. It said that he was walking down Sunset Strip sometime in late 80s, and he saw a guy riding a motorcycle. He thought he was Bret Michaels, right? But when he drove past, he had a New Haven jacket.
Really? A guy on a motorcycle had a New Haven jacket?
Yeah. Is there a
really?
chance that it was you?
No, I didn't have a motorcycle, but no, I can't. That just blows my mind. I've never heard that. And this is one of your friends that said this on YouTube under one of our.
I mean, I saw a comment. I don't know who
Oh,
wrote
okay. Yeah, I have to read those because those things have been up for a while. There was a ton of stuff up on that YouTube stuff, but that is pretty cool. I mean, I wonder if those people are still on there. You know, I better log in. And yeah, that's pretty crazy. I just remember, you know, I hear a lot of things about people would see. I told you about Highland and La Brea and Laurel Canyon when we'd go up and down and fly over the poles. You know, just people would be like, they would know who we are. Like people that didn't come see us play. They're like, what do you do? I was like, you know, I played drums in a band here in LA. Oh, what band? New Haven. You're in that band, New Haven? Are you the guys that go up and down the poles and just fly the crap out of that? I was like, yeah, that's us. They're like, oh my God. I was like, you should come to a show. It'll be fun. You'll see. We're not bad. Do you guys wear lipstick? No, we don't wear lipstick. Not that there's anything wrong with that. No. Do you guys wear like leather? No. Well, no. You know, it's like, you know, we have keyboards. Put it that way. You know, how rough can we be? But we rocked it out when we had to. No doubt. Like Draw the Line when you hear that. It's rocking. Love on the Rocks is rocking. The live stuff, and we always sounded a lot heavier live. You know, It was just, And but we all love the songs, and like I love the ballad. You know, I love Part of Me. You know, it's great. I mean, it's up on FNA's YouTube channel. You know, it's great.
Yeah, I love it.
Rocking chair. Yeah. Heck yeah. So good. I'm glad you're tracking us. No, but you know, ever since I linked up with you, man, you've been aces. You know, and you know, I like your stuff, and I can't wait to hear more. I'm looking forward to hearing the Adam Gifford podcast.
Yeah, I also have your buddy Danny, who will be on the show soon.
Oh, wait, say that again. Sorry.
Yeah, your buddy Danny Kane will also be on the show soon.
Oh, great. Oh, great. You're going to get Danny to do it?
Yeah,
Great.
he's coming up to talk about Lexa.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Legs Up, he was in another band called Brittany, but I'll let him tell you about that. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
Danny and Ross, I love those guys, man. I mean, I'm so happy for him. And Danny's he's great. I mean, he's just, you know, we
yeah.
had a lot of fun together.
I've been talking with him for a few days, and he's a great guy.
Yeah, absolutely. All of
Yeah.
them are. All of them are. They all are. They all are. I mean, we went through the wars together. We went through a lot of stuff.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And I couldn't have done it without him. I couldn't have done it without him.
Of course. Yeah. So Todd, to wrap this up, I want to do a top three favorite albums.
Okay.
So what are yours?
Okay.
Did I put you in a top spot?
Yeah, of course. But I'm
Well,
sure this happens
besides
to
the new,
everybody.
I'm assuming the New Haven album is the first. Let's say besides
Well,
New Haven
yes,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. After 30 years, yeah, absolutely, good one, good one. Because I'm sure the label would punch me in the nose if I didn't say that. Of course it is. And we're gonna, I'm gonna reiterate the stuff that I said earlier about the CD. I'll try to. All right. I mean, everybody knows I love Def Leppard. I love Van Halen. There's just so many. I mean, I would say, all right, I'm going to try to throw you a curveball here. All right, I'm going to say not necessarily in this order, but maybe. Okay, Kiss Alive 2,
Okay.
Pyromania,
Right. Wow.
and Boston's first record, Boston.
Oh wow, that's a great album.
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
yeah, and you got your mix of the rock guitars and keyboard and
Yep,
all the stuff
yep,
that
yep.
you can hear in the New Haven album.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, there's a lot, and I'm going to get calls from my friends like, "What? You didn't say this, you idiot!" Oh, well, what are you going to do? But I really appreciate you taking the time to do this again. By the time everybody hears this, our record is out. Our CD is out.
Awesome.
13 remastered songs, 24-page booklet. I think they're going to have shirts, and they're going to do vinyl eventually. Yeah, the
Oh,
record
wow.
company FNA has been outstanding. The team over there has been great. And we're very proud of it, and we hope everybody likes it. I'm up on Facebook, and our band page is up there. And if any of your listeners have any questions, either talk to Santee or talk to me or talk to any of the guys. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, awesome, man. I'm looking forward to getting the vinyl version.
Well, you got to get a CD first. Come on.
Wow, of course. I mean,
You'll get the vinyl's going to
I'll
take a
get every
while.
version.
What?
I,
What?
I'll get the CD, the vinyl, and a T-shirt as well.
Okay, yeah, but get the CD now so you can listen to it. You
Of
can
course.
hear it in its purity. All right.
Yeah.
And obviously we're going to stay in touch. But keep me posted on the stuff that you're doing. You know what I mean? I'm not going to spoil it for everybody, but he's working on some cool stuff.
Yeah, I will. I will. I will. All right, Todd. Thanks a lot for being on the show. You've been great.
Thank you. Likewise, Santee, thank you so much for having me, and we appreciate everybody listening. And rock on, everybody. Stay safe out there. Santee, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Alright, folks, sadly that's all the time we have for today, but what an episode, right? Don't forget to hit the follow button on Spotify and share it with your friends. You can also follow us on Instagram at hollywood.dreams.podcast. And rock on!